All right. And I am here with some other members of our Region 3 AT community of practice, Melissa, Krista, Tina, and Shannon. And I'll be moving through all the slides here, but as each of them start talking to you about some of the content today, I'll have them introduce themselves really briefly just to tell you who they are. All right, so in general, who we are, the Region 3 AT community of practice, is a group of people from all around the region, widely represented group. And our goal or objective or vision is to continue to compile and share and disseminate AT resources to district special education teams across the region. So part of that is doing these AT office hours to share information across the region. As we share information today about the Region 3 AT Lending Library, keep in mind the SET framework. Of course, when we consider assistive technology, we think about the student, the environments that they're in, the tasks that the team is hoping that they will do, and then we overlay those tools. So be thinking about those things as everyone is talking about some of the new tools that we've got in our Region 3 AT Lending Library. And so with that, we're going to start talking about some of those new items that are in our library this year. And you can borrow any of these for free. And once we talk about some of these lending library items, then at the end, we'll talk about how you can check them out too. So I will turn it over, I believe, to Melissa to start here.
All right. I'm Melissa King. I'm a special ed. I'm not anymore. Huh, that's funny. I was a special ed teacher for 23 years, and now I'm currently a deaf, hard of hearing consultant for ISD 318 and IASC. So sorry, my brain still goes there. One of the first things I want to talk about is just the portable CD player with a radio. It's switch activated. One of the best things about this is it's portable. It's battery operated. You can bring it and you can put it on a stand or a wheelchair, any alternative seating. You can bring it to the gym. So students who require switch activated activities can do so anywhere, just because it's portable. So I guess as far as that goes, that's the best feature for somebody who would use it. The next one is a weighted lap pad, and I think that what it should be noted here is it's a weighted lap pad, not a weighted lap blanket. So it's not something that you have to worry about it being too large. The weight is too heavy. You don't have to worry about the percentage of the weight of the blanket to the weight of the child. It's small. You can see this little boy is sitting with it on his lap. It's washable is another key feature, so it's something that you could have for learning environments, transitions, like I said, it's a pad, so it's not extremely heavy. So somebody who needs something, for that sensory or for that, oopsie, spelling error, sorry. You see it? For that, the heavy weight or the heavyweight activities, it's perfect for that, just because you can put it in a backpack, you can carry it on their lap, on their shoulders or whatever. So it's perfect for that too. And the last one that I'm just going to talk about is the Bluetooth speaker. One of the things that's most interesting about this is that it could be used to differentiate instruction in multiple ways for multiple different levels of students. So when you think about your classroom, if you think somebody needs something read to them, you can have different activities where something could be on the speaker. You could also use it if you are going to be, having to relocate your classroom. So it's a quick and easy way of providing that auditory access to students in any environment, like I said, something quick and easy. Another interesting thing that we could do with this is just that level of motivating students, get your work done, and then we can listen to, anything fun. So lots of different ways that you can use it, whether it's for instruction, differentiation, or motivation.
All right, so I am Krista Sievertson, and I am the autism specialist for the Duluth Edison Charter Schools. And I'm going to be talking to you today about the Echo Dot, also commonly called Alexa. And I was trying to think through this SET framework for this one, thinking who are the students who could benefit from using an Echo Dot. And really, it can be anyone. I mean, I have several in my home and I love them. But for our DD students, if for our pre-readers, it can read a story to you. There's lots of different options there for teaching students to interact with a speaker like this. For our SLD students, there's lots of options for things like performing calculations, looking things up, spelling. For our blind students, it's all auditory, so that's really accessible for them. DCD or SMI students, there's lots of different opportunities to help make them to be more independent, and there's been a lot more studies done recently looking at the population in adulthood and how the smart speakers and smart devices are really helping them to be more independent in their homes. As well as students with ASD, I've found them really helpful for things like scheduling routines and reminders, setting timers, and some of those types of activities. I did link a couple articles to some of the best educational Alexa skills and Alexa in the classroom, according to a few folks, because there are over 70,000 different Alexa skills. It's a little bit intimidating to get into that, but I included a list of some other possible uses. Some that I haven't talked about yet is just quick referencing any subject, saying, Alexa, tell me about, when did World War I start? Or being able to look up definitions or translations for particular words. We use ours at home a lot to set routines. So the routine, you can set several different things in a row to happen. It can go off at a certain time and play a song, or say something out loud to you, or interact with something else that's connected to the Alexa, which we'll talk about some smart plugs next. It can read stories. There's lots and lots of educational activities and games, and things like fitness routines and meditation routines that could be used for mindfulness in the classroom. So kind of a lot going on there for Alexa. And then we're going to next talk about the smart plugs, which can integrate with any smart speaker. But we bought this in particular to go with the Alexa devices. So this provides that hands-free voice control to any device that has a manual on and off switch. So it's kind of like making a voice activated switch. So you can also set things, so you can use it obviously to just turn things on and off, say, Alexa, turn the light on, Alexa, turn the light off, or whatever is plugged into your smart switch. But you can also set timers. You can have like a countdown where it will count down, it'll connect to something else. So like, for example, I use the app called If This Then That, that's that IFTTT. And I can tell my smart socket to know that it's sunset. And at sunset, it will turn on my lights. And it adjusts because it's smart. It'll know that throughout the year when the actual sunset is. You can also set up groups. So you could have a smart socket, several smart sockets set up for smart plugs, and scenes are different ways of kind of making them all interact together. So there's really lots of in-depth things you can do. I think when you're thinking about these, just basically thinking about anything with an on-off manual switch that you can use to plug it into to use that hands-free voice control is going to be really helpful for a lot of students.
I'm Tina Olson. I'm the teacher for the physically impaired, and I work through the Northern Lights Special Ed Co-op. And actually this comes great after the smart plug, because some of these, the little step-by-steps or programmable switches, I've called them before too, you can program them with messages. And plus you could have these work with the Alexa, that a student could press them and turn on the lights if they do not have a voice. So just a nice little segue from the smart plug. And they do, register that voice from that programmable switch. So it was pretty amazing that worked. And even from Dynaboxes from students that have communication devices. So these are just a smaller one that you can just put messages on, and you can put up to like I think I put up to 75 bingo calling numbers once, so that we had a student that actually could use it to call bingo. And it was just amazing that you could put up that many messages. So that is just the little step-by-step or programmable switch that I call. And then the next one, this is a big beamer transmitter that is wireless. It works with the PowerLink 4. You can use this with anything that plugs into the PowerLink. And you can have this beamer switch through walls. I think it can go up to like 5 feet away. It's just a cool device. So you don't have the cords with a student in a wheelchair that has to come around them to be able to activate the switch. It works great with like some job skills, like with a shredder, a paper folder machine we've used it before with, and a scissors, a heavy duty scissors that you plug in to cut fleece. So just a nice wireless button that is used, but you have to have the PowerLink 4 to make it work. And I guess it was 30 feet range. Sorry.
And do we have that PowerLink 4 in our library?
Yes, I believe so. And then the next one is the big step-by-step that it's similar to the little one. It's just the bigger button, and it records the messages just similar to the little step. This is nice for our severely multiply impaired students that need a little bit bigger target to press. And then they can use it for greetings, turn taking. I have a teacher who is using it with a book that is repetitive. And so they say, I feel, and then someone else, another student or a teacher says the word happy or sad or whatever it is in the story. So just a nice, another nice step-by-step communication device that you can use. And you can use it for playing games too. Like I said, with bingo, you can have them participate. You could even do it as like a color bingo, and they could call out a color. So it is very useful for a variety of different ways or reasons. And that's it.
Hi, I'm Shannon Pruill. I am the technology coordinator at the Northern Lights Special Education Cooperative. And so you saw all these great new devices, and you may be wondering how to check them out. Well, there's a couple different ways to do that, but Julie Ray, if you go to the next slide. The easiest way to remember, if you just go to the Northland Learning Center website, and then I listed the site there. On the lower left-hand corner, you can see there's a link for it. So before I go any further, the Northland Learning Center is in Virginia, Minnesota, and that's where all these items are housed physically in a room by the conference room. And we've been there. There's lots and lots of items. If you believe it, there's over 400 items in just the AT lending library. So that it's just a little room packed full of stuff. And I wish we had a picture, but just remember it's at Northland Learning Center. So if you go to their website and you click on that link in the lower left-hand corner, it says Region 3 Lending Library. Julie Ray, you can go to the next slide. And then what happens is it pops up the Google form to check it out. And this is what it looks like on the right. So obviously you would fill this form out to get what you want, but you probably don't know what's on the list. So to access the list, you'll see where I've got that arrow there to the right. It says access the lending library list here, and you would click on that link. And if you go to the next slide, Julie Ray, we'll get a pop-up of that. So there's the list, and maybe when we're done going through the slides, I can show you a little bit more of the list and how long it is. But you can see everything's categorized there by the name of the item. There's a short description, the vendor, and then obviously the location is just so Amy, the gal who runs it, knows where everything is. And then she would update on who has checked that out and any notes and where they're from and the date and so forth. And even at the very bottom there, you'll notice there's some different tabs too. So the AT tab is just one list. There's also an ASD lending library, behavior, English reading lending library. Vision hearing has a really big list of lending library items as well. So that's the Google Sheet. So you would look at the items, search for those items, And then you can copy and paste those into the Google form to check them out. And let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, yeah, so I put together a nice summary of all the information on, you can just download this link right here, and then you'd have all the information printed off on how to access this lending library. So like I said, it's at Virginia. Amy Bodavins is the administrative assistant. She handles all the checkout items, so I put her contact information there. And then I also put the links for the Northland Learning website. And then if you want direct access right to that Google Sheet, that's where you would click on there where it says direct access to the sheet. Request items through the Google form that we looked at. And then the items are shipped to you via the mail. Before COVID, the directors, used to get together, and then they could carry the items to and from and give them to the director over there at Northland. But since COVID, I believe everything is virtual, so that option's no longer available. So everything's through the mail. So Amy will mail it to you free of charge, but your district is responsible for mailing it back at the district at their own financial. They have to pay for it. Anyways, I can't imagine it's too much unless you've got a huge item. The items can be checked out for 6 weeks. And if for some reason you're looking at that list and an item's already checked out, still fill out the Google form. Amy will let you know when it comes back in, and she'll get it to you. And likewise, if nobody else requests the item, you usually can get an extension and hold on to that item for a while. So that's really nice. We've got a couple minutes, I think, before questions. Maybe, Julie Ray, do you want to open up the lending library Google Sheet?
Yeah.
Or I can share my screen if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Okay.
I think it's going to give me a little boot if I try and do that. So I will stop sharing.
Okay. All right, everybody see that okay? The Google Sheet. All right. So as I mentioned, it's pretty long. There's like 400 items, but we did, when we have time, when we go up to the lending library, you can actually hover over one of these links and you can see there's a picture we took of the item, or we got it off the website. Like, what is this Big Bend clipped? You can see there, it gives you if I clicked on it, it would pop it up in a bigger view. We even have links over to the websites of some of the vendors. Like you can see, this Big Mac's been crossed out, so that probably means it's broken or it's no longer available. Let's scroll to the right there. Yep, you can see, Julie Ray's checked out something. Here's a boom box that we have available. There's tons and tons of stuff in here. One nice tip is sometimes when you're looking for things, it gets a little overwhelming. So I use a tip called the Control F for find. So if I do Control F right now, it brings up this pop-up up here towards the top. And now I can look up an item. So for example, that Echo Krista was showing, I'm just going to type in Echo, and it says there's 6 options to have that Echo item. So I'm just going to click the arrow to kind of scroll through. Looks like there's an Echo Smart Pen. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, here's an Amazon, or excuse me, an Alexa Echo Dot. Maybe that's what you want to check out. You could write down that name and number of the item. Or the brand new one, I believe, is at the very bottom. Maybe I passed that. Yep, that's what it was. This 3 under 390 was the very latest one that we purchased. So those are some quick tips on how to find things in there. Don't forget the tabs at the bottom. Look at the item and then shoot Amy a Google form, and that's all there's to it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much to all of you who shared today about those items and then about how to check things out. I will open it up now. Does anyone who's here have any questions for the team? All right, I'm seeing some head shakes. Well, if not, I would really encourage you to take a look at some of those links that are in the slides that got shared out and check out that whole list of items that are available, because it's a really, really big list, as Shannon showed, like 400, close to 400 items. And I think it's underutilized around the region. And I think it would be great for people to check things out and get them in students' hands. So with that, I'll stop recording, but I will hang around if anyone has any more questions